friends, and welcome back to another episode of your Bish Therapist podcast. And today I'm so excited to have a brand new guest to the show, my friend and yours, because I know y'all love her, Mary Payne Gilbert from Pink Shade Podcast. Welcome, Mary Payne.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so happy to have you. I was on your show a couple of times, and then I had you scheduled to come on my show, and then my life fell apart at the seams, and I went underground for 2 months. So I'm happy to be above ground, and I'm happy to have you back.
Yeah, we're glad to see you above ground. Yes.
Yes, above ground is always good. One thing I really want to start by asking you is that you went to BravoCon. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but I feel like, with my health and my body, sometimes it's just challenging for me, but it is a goal for sure.
Yeah.
So how was your experience with BravoCon this year?
It was fun. This is the third time I've been. And I hate Vegas as a whole, as an entity, as a city, as a concept. But it is great in Vegas. It's really great because most everything is pretty walkable. They've got the Formula One stuff going on right now that makes things a little tricky, but that's better than New York to me. And I love New York. I would live there, but everything is so far. So Vegas is a better experience for it. And, everybody there is just so happy and all there for the common goal. And, it's just a lot of like-minded people that all get the same jokes. And it's really great, It's really great.
Like it does seem like, even with the Bravo Labs, it seems like everyone puts beefs aside. And like you said, everyone's there just for a common goal to kiki. But I'm with you, though. I hate Vegas because I don't drink and I don't gamble. And so for me, it's like also very overstimulating. But I see your point in terms of it's probably easier to do it there than New York. Although if they did it in New York, I would love to go because that I'm closer to. But anyway, I considered BravoCon as soon as they moved it from New York.
Yeah, right.
That sucks.
Yeah, you've got 2 years to think about it. They're going to do it again in 2 years. So and that's how long it takes to save the money to go because it will drain every dollar you've ever made in your life. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that it's also is so stressful because it's so expensive. Being a podcaster, between the recording software and all this other stuff, and it can be very expensive. So that's a great point. So when you were there, anything that stuck out to you was like really funny, really interesting?
Well, what I like is to get sort of, as you're chatting with people that are there, the people's experiences, like somebody will emerge as somebody that was kind of an asshole a lot, or somebody will emerge as somebody that was like a rude drunk or something, Shep. And it kind of like a theme will emerge. And what I got this past time was that everybody really had a great experience with Bronwyn of Salt Lake City. Every person that met her, whether it was like casual in the hotel or like on a red carpet, planned photo op, it seemed that she took time to chat with every person. And again, I know people that saw her sort of in sweatpants in the lobby, and she was just as kind to those people as she was, to people doing interviews. So that kind of stood out. Same as last time, everybody had a great experience with Angie K. We met Rachel Zoe, and it was kind of a blur, but it was very fast, and she seemed stunned, like, whoa. I think that she's had a level of fame and was on Bravo a long time ago and has had this level of fame as a designer in her own show. But she seems stunned, like at the level of people just like lined up to take pictures. And I don't think she quite knows what's about to hit her.
It's funny that you say that because, I've loved reality TV since back in the day, right? When Rachel Zoe Project and all of that. And so I think it's such a funny observation. I think you're right. She's been out of that sphere for a little bit. And Bravo fandom is obsessed at best and diabolical at worst. So I feel that it could be, Mandy Slutzker and I were talking about how, these Bravo Labs, it's like they have to be on for 3 days. And it's like, God forbid, they have a moment, right? So I definitely feel like it's exhausting, it's overstimulating, and I could see how hard that would be, especially like a lot of these housewives, especially the OGs, like they're primed for this, but Rachel Zoe is not. She's just came back. Right. So that's really funny.
Yeah, and I spoke to Tia of Potomac in the airport. She was on, Mandy and I were on the same plane. Tia was on the plane as well. And she had been on her plane on the way out. And I spoke to her in the airport while we were gathering our luggage. And I did bother her the whole flight. And then at the end, we were standing there getting our luggage. And I will tell you that 2 years ago, Candy and Ashley were on our flight on the way home, and Mandy too. And we talked to Ashley in the airport afterwards, Candy literally like stood off to the side, had like a handler getting her luggage, all this stuff. It was so different how Ashley was just there with her hair guy, like, yeah, what are you guys doing later? You going out? She couldn't be more normal. And Candy was like sunglasses on, off to the side, had somebody getting her luggage for her. And it is sort of interesting to see that dynamic as well. It was a great experience overall. By day 2, I was like, I hate this. I hate Vegas. I got to get out of here. I want to leave. But then by day 3, I rallied. By day 3, I'm like, this is fun.
You lived off the energy from the group. But you're right. I feel like what I would love most about BravoCon is it's a giant sociological experiment, right? You get to see these housewives who are just authentically, like, to me, Ashley Darby, she just seems like so chill, so cool. Like she could be your friend. Yes. Candy, here's the thing. I love Candy. She is absolutely one of my favorite people on Bravo. I think I miss Atlanta without her. I miss her.
No, I was talking about Candy from Potomac.
Oh, Candy from Potomac. Who's that?
Candace.
Candace.
Sorry, okay. Candy ass, if you're saying it phonetically. Candace.
Candy ass. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry. Yeah. No, I'm glad we clarified that but I could see even Candy Burris, she won the Lifetime Achievement Award. I could see her being friendly, but like at a distance. Because when you have real fame,
she's got real fame.
And she is worldwide, bitch. She is worldwide.
That's right, bitch. She's worldwide.
But now that you're saying Candace or Candice, who gave her that name? Gosh, I forget. But either way, I could see her being a little standoffish. I could.
And she and Ashley had a problem at the time, which was 2 years ago. And God knows I can't remember what it was. But they didn't speak. They didn't speak in the airport. They didn't speak on the airplane. And then, when Ashley was standing to get her luggage and Candace was over there with her sunglasses on to the side with a handler getting her luggage, I was like, this is interesting.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that is interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Who were you looking the most forward to meeting or seeing, and did you get to see them?
Well, my goal for the past couple of years has been to meet Marisol, because I'm obsessed with Marisol of Miami.
Can I say I love the Miami women, period. Period, end of sentence. Especially Gertie, especially Marisol. Love them.
Yes, and I love them too. And I never watched Miami before Marisol and Alexia were on Real Housewife Ultimate Girls Trip. And it was the bro of it all, like bro and the cocky. And I was like, I got to watch Miami. I like these ladies. And I watched the whole thing. And
from season 1?
Because of them.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I'm also friendly with Miguel Luciano, who has that wonderful Instagram where he does all the invitations. And he's been on my show. And I hooked up with him quite a bit at BravoCon. We got to see each other. He's hilarious. And he's gotten very close with Marisol. So I had an opening when she walked into our Bravo Palooza. When she walked in, Ingrid's like, it's happening. Marisol's here. Now, at the Bravo Paloozas, the Bravo Lebs have these sections. They go to stand and you can line up and take the pictures, or they mingle depending on what they're doing. And she went directly to a corner and sat in a chair and was like, if you'd like to talk to me, I will not be be mingling, and I will not be standing in front of a blue thing. No. So when she went and sat down and people kind of didn't notice, I was like, ching. I went right over, picked up a piece of paper that said reserved seating, sat right there and said, Marisol, I've always wanted to meet you. I'm friends with Miguel. And having a way in, like a opening, sort of helped me, because she is one of those people that generally people had bad things to say about BravoCon. at BravoCon, people said that she was sort of cold or standoffish or didn't seem to want to be there. And I think from what Miguel has said is she is just extremely introverted. And an event like this is a lot for her. So probably that's why she wanted to sit in a corner. And so I had a way in to chat with her. And she was very warm, very friendly. We gave her a Pink Shade personal fan. She was thrilled. She was like, oh my God, I love her present. Oh, I love it. Thank you. She was great. I talked to Alexia, told her the same thing, that I had started watching the show because of Girls Trip, and then I knew Miguel. And she's like, oh my God, bro, where's Miguel? Is he here? And I was like, no, he's not here. Just saying, I know him.
Mary Payne, can I tell you what's so funny? I just was DMing with Miguel yesterday. And
he's so great.
He is so great. I really enjoy him. We really enjoy each other. And I was chatting with him because I know he's close with the Miami women. And for some reason, a lot of the housewives don't love Yabish therapist, but the Miami women do. I DM with Gertie. She's sending me her book. She just volunteered. And I was just like, that is very sweet.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to do like on my Patreon, a Bravo book club. And I was like, well, we'll start with your book. I'm very excited about that. And Mary,
I saw Kiki in the airport too.
Did you? Oh my God. I love all the Miami women, and Marisol reposted me a couple of times, and I was like, well, I love that, number one. And number two, I could see, like I said, it being so overwhelming with Marisol. Like if it could be too much. And the thing with human behavior is people personalize it and they misread it a lot. And I imagine that can happen a lot at BravoCon because I think Marisol's probably a lovely person, like you said, just it was a lot for her. So that is funny. And I love that you had Pink Shade fans.
Oh my gosh. I usually, because I'm at a different spot, I usually have them sort of everywhere, and I can show you. It's a little white, personal fan that you charge, but it's a great size because you stick it in your pocket. And, we did it. I always have some available so that I can give them out. And I gave one to Marisol, and it'll come to me, but I can't remember who the other person was.
Did you give one to Angela Oakley because she loves a fan?
She was not there.
A fan. Oh, she wasn't?
Not to my knowledge.
I thought, because here's the thing. I saw
if she was there, I never saw her, never heard a word about her if she was there. I would have loved to have met her.
She might not have been, but I saw a picture of one of the husbands with Charles Oakley. And I was like, is there a way that Charles was there, but not Angela? I guess
she must have been there, but she must not have been doing photo ops and stuff because I never saw her name anywhere. And I never heard anybody meeting her. But I would have loved to have met her because the craziest thing was, when she appeared on Atlanta and my husband walked through the room, was like, is that Charles Oakley? My husband could not believe that that famous basketball player who he knows very well would be on one of my trashy shows. Yeah.
It's funny when my husband does the same thing when things intersect with like sports, because my husband's a huge sports nut, and so he'll be like, "This person's on the show."
Yes,
I know, and it's like, okay, see, that's the Venn diagram of where the wives and the husbands can meet and get along.
And like Martina Navratilova, heard of her?
I know.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a good season on my.
They've got to be headed for divorce.
One would think. One would think. So let's start out with, before we start talking about some shows, which, by the way, of everything that's on right now, so there's Salt Lake, OC just ended, Southern Charm, Beverly Hills is coming back. What are your specific jams? Like, what are you really into?
I'm really into Salt Lake. I mean, no surprise, everybody is. I love Southern Charm just because I'm Southern. And I always love Southern. I just like to look at Madison. I think she's so interesting and so beautiful. So I just like to look at her. I know that sounds weird. And I'm very into the Valley. It's not currently on, but I'm very into the Valley.
Well, I mean, the Valley, I feel like this is what your Bish therapist was made for. So
totally.
It gave, I could have talked about that show for 17 hours a week.
Yes. I met at BravoCon, I met Danny and Jesse and Michelle. Those were the three that I met.
Generally good experiences?
Yeah. Especially Michelle was very chatty, and she was just sort of walking around the VIP lounge before she went over to stand to get her picture made, just walking around chatting with people. Yeah. She was in her slippers. She had her handler carrying her shoes. I can get behind that. Yeah.
Oh, I can get behind that too. Oh, you got to have comfort, honey.
Yeah.
So, one of the stories that I want to start out with is Wendy and Eddie Osefo, who at BravoCon, she just like vociferously denied all of these allegations. And so for people listening who maybe aren't caught up to speed, let me just give you the Reader's Digest version. So Wendy and Eddie, a couple weeks ago, it broke that they were charged with insurance fraud because they said, allegedly, they said there was a break-in, and then Wendy was seen wearing one of the allegedly stolen rings on a carpet, which is just stupidity. Like, you might have 4 degrees, but you have no street smarts. And then news broke this week, and I'll just read a little bit, is that they were accused of possessing 40 credit and or debit cards using aliases to conceal their identities. And this is according to the Baltimore Banner. So prosecutors are seeking additional financial records as they believe they will show a pattern of excessive spending and support a motive in their criminal fraud case. Now, what is funny, in newly filed court documents, the Osefos have approximately 40 credit and or debit cards, some in the names of Pam Oliver and Eddie Hennessy. When I read Eddie Hennessy, I die, Mary Payne. I die, Eddie Hennessy.
I have Mary Payne Bacardi. I mean, that now she has come out and said like all of that is not true. Now, as far as the other stuff with the break-in and stuff, it's sort of like, we appreciate all the support and da-da-da-da. And they haven't necessarily addressed all of that insurance fraud stuff because it's true. But all this credit card fraud, she came out and said like, now people are just making stuff up. But that is something pretty specific to pull out of the air and put into a newspaper, you know?
It is. And let me tell you something, okay? I have joked with people that I would rather commit murder than steal from the federal government, because the federal government has all the available resources and they will hunt your ass down to get $12. They don't care what you stole.
Yes,
they're going to come for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, you would think the same approach would be applied to murder, but let's face it, it just isn't. So I think that, you know, to me, my take on that is that Wendy and Eddie this year with Potomac, we're seeing them basically renovate their entire home, right? Literally top to tail, over $100,000. And it just feels like housewives go on and they see themselves in their houses the first season, and then they do a whole reconstruction to their face and to their house. That seems to be what I've noticed. And I think to me, it sets up a real case of like keeping up with the Joneses and all of that stuff. Because if you're a Bravo Lab, you feel like you have to live a certain way.
Right.
And then I feel like with Wendy that Wendy has, you know, there's some narcissistic traits and tendencies there where I think that her mom probably set up a situation where she only feels valuable if she is either earning or getting degrees of some sort. Now, she's a full-blown adult, so we can't blame mom, but I'm just saying I feel like Wendy has internalized that, and she's like, well, I have to be this or that, and then they just went outside what they could afford. But I don't know, that's my theory. What are your theories?
My whole thought is, if he's a full-blown, highly educated lawyer, and she is a full-blown, highly educated doctorate degree teacher at Johns Hopkins, and, you know, a political pundit, all these things, that alone right there are two people making a good amount of money in today's world.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Based on what middle Americans are making, you're absolutely correct. Yes.
So they're living a really nice, you know, upper class lifestyle, but then they felt somehow that they needed to prove it to who, I'm not sure, that they have more and more money. And it seems like the two of them, if they've got all these credit cards and stuff, are in cahoots. So sometimes you'll see it's like, well, the husband didn't know what the wife was doing or vice versa. But in this situation, it seems like these two extremely smart people came up with this. And the fact that I still can't get over the fact that this guy who has a law degree was putting things in writing on email to his wife about, go find some more items so we can hit the max. And knowing if you just look a little bit down the road, they could get your emails. Like, it's just like, God.
You're absolutely right. And it's what's wild to me is that, because I have a professional degree and the license, and you work your whole life for something like that, and to throw it away for something so stupid. But people do it all the time. And my impression is that they wanted to stop their regular jobs and be celebrities and, have this cannabis line, which, by the way, that's, cannabis is, you can make a lot of money from that. So
I think many regulations and rules to open. Everybody says, like, if you want to start a cannabis line and you don't just get in with an already established company, if you just sort of like, it is super expensive and super regulated by the government and a very hard business to get off the ground.
It is. And once you're off the ground, you can make a lot of money. But I wonder if they pigeonholed themselves into like this Happy Eddie thing, and then they had to put a whole bunch of money into that. Because we're talking millions of dollars here to do this kind of line. So between that and then trying to do the house and Wendy trying to, look amazing all the time, I just think they got too big for their britches. And that old tale of Icarus and, flying his wax wings, flying too close to the sun. And I think these Bravo Labs, they just fly too close to the sun. And there's narcissism that tells them, like, in the Bravo world, they probably feel like absolute rock stars. But let's face it, outside of Bravo and that fandom, it's like, well, who are any of us? Who hangs their hat on that celebrity? So I just think that, what's coming to them is going to come. And to be honest, I think they're kind of screwed. I really do.
With the insurance stuff, they're definitely screwed. And I don't know if you listened to Vicky Gunvalson was on Carlos King's podcast talking about insurance fraud. She's so big in insurance.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I was like, genius. That was genius of Carlos to get her on to talk about insurance fraud, right?
That was very, very smart. Absolutely.
And she says the first thing that would have been flagged with that, in addition to it being like a fake break-in and the cops figuring out right away nobody broke into this house, then she said the other problem was that they filed some of the same claims with 3 different companies, and the insurance companies talk to each other, obviously, to make sure one's not getting screwed. They just made so many mistakes. And again, he's a lawyer.
Right. And again, you have 4 degrees, but y'all have no street sense. You have no street smarts, because that, even I don't have 4 degrees. I just have 2. But at the end of the day, I would know better than to do any of that. And that just
I've got an English degree, and I would know better. I mean,
You know what? I think people don't need any degrees to figure out that that's idiocy. Okay, let's be real.
Stupid criminals.
I know, very stupid. And then, so another story, which is just like very sad, but also I wanted to talk about it for a minute, is that Meghan King, for those who don't remember or haven't heard the story. So Meghan King was on OC. She was married to Jim Edmonds, who, by the way, he's clearly terrible. Like, Jim is clearly terrible, but Meghan's also had a lot of issues. And so news broke that recently she lost custody of her 3 children with ex-husband Jim Edmonds, following a school employee, by the way. So school employees are mandated reporters. There are, a therapist obviously is a mandated reporter, school personnel, things like that are by law. You have to report something that comes up. And so that is the one part of the story to me that says something concerning is happening, because a school employee isn't going to report something that's not really happening. So they called Child Protective Services, leading to an investigation, and she has lost custody. And so I feel very sad, because here's the thing. Jim and Meghan have always had like a really contentious, tumultuous relationship.
Yes.
And I think what's really sad here is that the kids at the end of the day are the biggest losers. And that really, really upsets me and bums me out. What did you think when you saw this news story break?
My understanding is that she asked the school nurse to give the child Ritalin who did not have a prescription for it.
I'm glad you said that, because I heard the same thing, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't. That's alleged, but I have heard the same information.
Yeah. Now, let's say that's the case, since it's alleged. I don't know if one child had the prescription and she said, we'll just give it to both of them because she thinks the other child needs it, but the child didn't have the prescription, and perhaps Jim Evans has said, we're not giving it to them. He doesn't need it. And then she's trying to like sneak around the back door with it. Maybe she thinks one kid has ADHD and it's not. I don't know if she thinks one of her children has ADHD and he refuses to let the kid get treatment. So she's doing it when the kid's with mom. It's a lot of different things there, but you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't give a kid meds that are not prescribed. You just can't, you know?
And as a therapist, what I can tell you about the danger of that, right? So Ritalin and medications like that are stimulants.
Yeah.
They are basically a few molecular differences away from methamphetamine. However, there are some children, I've worked in the field for, over 20 years, and it is life-saving and changing for them. When people are very hyperactive.
I have a child on ADHD meds that completely saved her life. Yes.
Right. Right. Because that is the interesting part. When you have hyperactivity, even though it's a stimulant, because they have the disorder, it has that helpful effect. But if you're giving a child that medication who has not been properly evaluated by a clinical psychologist, a psychiatrist, that could create heart problems. It could lessen their appetite, weight issues. I cannot say how dangerous and how stupid, quite frankly, that would be to do that. Because let's face it, the two of them have the resources. And listen, like you said, maybe Jim was like, I don't want her tested. I don't want this. I don't want that. Fair enough. And that sucks. I hate when that happens in custody situations, but you find another avenue. You go to a pediatrician, you figure something out, because that is just dangerous and stupid.
Totally.
If that's really what happened.
Yeah. Either way, something happened that a school worker, nurse, or whoever felt, I have to report this. And you can't imagine the position they're in to be like, God, I don't want to have to report this mom, but I have to. I mean, it's anyway, we've never had any indication at all that she's lacking in the mothering department. So I'm hoping this is something that can be worked out pretty easily. But I mean, like you said, she and Jim have had this terrible divorce, and he is now married to a woman that they brought in to their marriage for a threesome.
Right.
And so all of it is
it's so messy.
It's so messy. And they think the kids are involved. And then, oh God, it's really bad. And I really hope that it gets worked out and they work something out. And if she's suffering with something, she gets some help too,
Right. Because, parents are people too. And so, they have issues. And if that happens, I hope they get that managed. But I always say, and I've always said this when I'm doing therapy with families, is you have to love your kids more than you hate your ex.
Yep. Yes.
You just have to. You have to be the bigger person. You have to swallow things for the betterment of your child sometimes. And it's just very upsetting. So, I'll talk about that as we find out more. But I pray that everyone's okay and that everyone gets the help that they need, like you said. Let us move on to Real Housewives of Orange County, because the reunion part 3 was bonkers. Bananas, crazy town. I don't even know what to say about it. What? So there was just so much getting into what I like to call like the game of semantics, right? It's like when you get into, well, I didn't say exactly this or blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I feel when people do that, it's because they're trying to hide something or be subversive. So the general gist that I got from this, and I want to hear your thoughts, are that starting with Gretchen and this kind of anti-LGBTQIA storyline, is that the post that Tamara brought forward seemed to be fake and AI. However, Gretchen also seemed to be guilty of following and liking pages that put out hateful anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. Am I crazy in that, or is that what? No,
I think you're right. I think that's absolutely true. Yes.
So to me, what is frustrating is that Tamara needed to be held accountable, but also she was so loud and so angry that the Gretchen stuff just kind of slipped under the rug. And what really pissed me off about that is that, for me, there is no room in Bravo Labs, Bravo fandom for anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. There just isn't. I have no tolerance for intolerance. And I am just disgusted with Gretchen. I'm disgusted with Tamra. How did you feel about the whole thing?
Yeah, I think that because Tamra misbehaved so much at the whole reunion, just like, whenever Shannon would talk, she'd be like, "Meh, meh, meh." You're like, what are you, 7 years old? She's like, "Meh." I was like, what are you doing? It was so weird. And because she acted like that and Shannon goes, wow. So because of that behavior, when all this came out, which we knew was going to be a big topic of discussion, Tamra was so, in her little chihuahua as she does, that you couldn't listen to her because they tried to turn it on Tamra. And she was just like, why are we talking about this? She did. But because she had acted so bad, what Gretchen did got very diluted. And it's like, look how crazy Tamra is. Tamra, did you do this? Did you do that? And Tamra kept trying to bring it back to what Gretchen did. But because she had acted so terribly and wasn't calm, then you lose the plot, right? It's like, look over here, don't look over here, That's
exactly right. And it was so distracting, here's the thing, that was Tamra's goal. Like when I was writing my interpretations, I was going line by line with this is distraction, this is manipulation, this is triangulation, but for me, this is a case of two things can be true. Yeah. Gretchen and Slade are terrible, and Tamra has also been terrible.
Correct.
And I fully believe that Gretchen and Tamra were so hell-bent on taking each other down that they took themselves out.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's exactly it. They were hell-bent on taking each other out, and in the process, self-implode. Yeah.
Self-implode. Because at this point, so now we know that Vicky's coming back next season, which, so you're excited. I'm not a Vicky. Oh, I'm
love her.
Gosh. No.
I do. I love her.
No, I respect it. I respect it. I understand. And I think she's probably a really nice person. I just don't like some of her personal stances with things, but
sure.
Whatever. That's, you can't paint someone with a brush, because Mandy and I argued about this for about 20 minutes because I was just like, no. But I think that my worry was that if Vicky coming back meant that Tamra would be staying, but Mandy thinks that means that leaves room for Tamra to exit. What do you think?
I think if they took off Tamra and Gretchen, I'd be okay with it. But I also think Tamra makes really good TV and she's very close with Andy. So
I stood with my whole chest and I was like, if Tamra is back, I won't be watching, because I just think, and you're right, she's close with Andy. I think she has a lot of power, but I think that, I believe that she leaked stuff. Do you believe that she leaked? Because that at the end,
I know she did. I know people that she talked to. Yeah, I know.
Okay, right. Yes. And listen, we all know that she talks to, and I hate that people call us bloggers. I'm like, is this 1991? We're not this is not a blog. This is a podcast. But we know, I've talked to Tamra. I'm sure you've talked to Tamra. We've all talked to Tamra.
I have never spoken to Tamra, but I know lots of people that talk to Tamra regularly.
I have. Yeah, I have. Yeah. And then she yelled at me because, I can tell you that story later. I'm sure my audience is tired of hearing about it. But she was mad that I didn't support her autism diagnosis nonsense, because I just know better, and you don't get diagnosed after one session with a therapist.
Right.
Yeah. So so she yelled at me about that, and then she just never talked to me again, which I'm grateful for, because I don't have any interest in being involved with her. But we know that she's leaking these things, and so it's it's in their contract that they can't be doing this stuff. And it also stands to reason that she alienated her entire cast by doing that, because even Gina and Heather, after the reunion wrap, they were still trying to get her to confess. Come on, man, we know you did this. And she just cannot be honest about, her stuff. So how could they bring her back with that being the case?
Good question. If she did breach the contract and do that, which it does seem like she did, they would have her just an actual reason to fire her and say, this goes against our policy, and it'll be a little bit of a warning shot to other housewives. Don't do this. Don't ruin this, don't ruin the season or whatever.
Right.
So that's a great point. They could take her off because of that. It would just be a matter of like, what's her Q rating or whatever? How much do people like her on the show as Tamara on the show, not like Tamara the terrible person.
Right. I also like, even though I love what we do, I don't want us to be involved in storyline. Like, I don't want any more of this off-camera social media bullshit with people. I don't like that.
I agree.
So I also think it's like Tamara and Gretchen need to take their business somewhere else and let it, because otherwise I think it could have been a great season. I think Heather Dubrow, the way that she was a straight up ally, advocated time and time again. I was like, am I attracted to Heather Dubrow? I think I love her. I think I do. Because she was just so well-spoken and she's like, I'm not going to have people in my life who are trying to deny people I love basic human rights.
Yes.
Not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I love that. So, what were some of the other parts of the reunion that, I don't know, stood out for you or you found really interesting?
I like how Katie Janela is always like super calm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't always think she's telling the truth either. I don't. I kind of think that they all went to dinner and Gretchen had some drinks and was like, I went to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Just made the story more flowery, right? Just made it like put a little something on that story.
Editorialized a bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Katie or maybe her husband were both like dead sober or had one drink and were like, that's what she said. And Jen, you heard it too. And Jen's like, well, I had 12. I don't know. Did she say that? But they were like, that's what she said. She didn't say, I felt like I was going to go to the hospital. She said, I did go to the hospital. And I think they heard it correctly. And I think that it's just like, well, the 4 other people are going to say that's not what happened. So Katie and her husband already on shaky ground. I saw both of them at BravoCon, Katie and her husband. Went up to Katie, took a picture, said hi to her husband. Hi, Matt. He's like, yeah, I think again, both things can be true. I think Katie doesn't always tell the truth, but I think that Gretchen did say that at dinner.
Yeah, and listen, Gretchen said it on TV in the Sprinter van. She said it. She was like, I did go. And then it's like, so you can't get what I call people like that unreliable narrators. Like Katie and Gretchen are unreliable narrators. But here's one little bit that I'll say is I know people who went to BravoCon, and what I can tell you that I know for a fact is that Katie Janela and her husband Matt will talk shit to anyone who will listen.
Yeah, I saw another story about that. People went up when we were talking to Adriana of Miami, and she goes, okay, when we have our panel, when Julia comes out, will you boo? Can you tell all your friends, make sure you boo when Julia comes out? So yeah, they will get messy at BravoCon. They will spill it.
Right. But here's what bothers me about Katie and Matt. It's like loose lips sink ships, you two.
Yeah,
so you can't have one foot in the world of fandom and one foot in the world of being a Bravo Lab. You just can't do it.
Right.
And so I think that you're right. Like, I think Katie seems sweet and she seems lovely, but she definitely has trouble telling the truth. And she has way too much trouble talking shit. And that's why her castmates don't like her. And I've heard that the word on the street is that she will absolutely not be returning. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
That is what I've heard.
Well, it's just like there's always somebody, right? Like we've got Brittany on Salt Lake, we've got Katie on OC, and we've got Stacy on Potomac. And it's just a pile on. Everybody hates that person. They're like, we don't like this person.
Everyone hates Stacy from Potomac so much. It's crazy.
I mean, a couple of episodes ago, they talked about her bad breath. And this episode, they said that she has body odor. I was like, wow.
Wow, Bethany, wow.
Yeah, I know. I think it was like Cookie that was like, you need to like take a shower. And I was like, oh my God.
I know. But here's the thing that bothers me about Stacy, because here, I'm loving Potomac. But the reason I don't cover it a lot is, to be honest, there's not a lot to cover.
Right, I agree.
I say with Potomac, the reason for that is that the women are generally, number one, generally sane, which you can't say that about all the Bravo Labs. They legitimately have lovely relationships, and they know how to hold people accountable and then go on and have fun and have a kiki. To me, it's like one of the most perfect franchises. It's like, there's nothing for me to say. But Stacey just seems to stick out like a sore thumb because she's just so like constipated and talks like a newscaster. And I'm like, who even are you as a person? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. We don't know anything about her. And the people that have been doing the spoofs on her on QVC, it's killing me. It's killing me. It's like, you know what we have this lotion. It's dry skin therapy, but you guys, dry skin doesn't even cover it. You guys don't even know. My skin is so dry. Not anymore. Not anymore. And the box, it's red. It's red on the cap. This says CVS, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is chic. It is luxurious. See that blue heart on there? Ooh, it has my heart. It is the craziest stuff you've ever seen in your life. And I know that's what they have to do on QVC. But people doing the spoofs of her are killing me. And people think that the whole, like, her being divorced from her husband first season was all fake. But people did find out that she was actually divorced from him. So how he came back in the picture or whatever, I don't know. But I enjoy all the lying that happened where she's like, he's flying out, he's flying in, he's out of town, he can't attend. He came in this morning, he left yesterday. I was like, girl, get it together.
Get it together, lady.
Yes.
Get your breath together. Get your armpits together. Just get it together, woman.
Poor Stacey. You have to wonder, at some point, she's going to have a redemption season. Like,
let's hope.
She can't be the punching bag forever.
I know. And I'm going to be honest, even if I don't like someone, I don't like that. I don't like the punching bag. I don't like the pile-on because it just cannot feel good. We know how it feels to have people be mad at us, and I'm small time. So I know how that feels. So I can't imagine all this other stuff. So yeah, I hope she does, come around. But so before I move on from OC, the one other interesting thing that I thought was wild is how Andy asked Tamra why she brought the homophobia storyline to Gina and not Heather. And we find out she did try to bring it to Heather. And Heather said, I want no parts of this.
Stood up and
Heather
walked away.
Is smart.
Heather stood up and walked out of the room. And it's like, I know what you're trying to do and I'm not participating. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so smart. And she got mad at Tamra because it was like, I already told you don't do this. And then we see that unseen footage of her walking away. So to me, I just feel that, I don't know if Tamra can be like a healthy, regular person in real life, but I just know she doesn't know how to be a housewife without being a human troll. And it's ruining the franchise, in my opinion.
Is human troll a therapy term or?
Definitely not.
No, okay.
That's why I call myself your bitch therapist because that's just a bitchy thing to say and not at all.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. Just making sure. You don't use that in your practice. You don't.
I sure don't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so let us move on to Southern Charm, Bapadoo, because I also, when you said you love Madison, here's the one thing I will confess to everyone is that when it comes to the shows that I cover, I really keep myself, I'm like, I say things I need to say about everyone. I don't stan anybody. I have people I like more than others. But Madison, there's just something about her that I just love her so much. I can never bring myself to say anything about Madison. I'm just like, just love her. Have nothing to say.
I do too. And remember the time that she said to Shep and I think it was Danny, and she goes, she told me that you gave her chlamydia. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. We were like, okay. And she was like, she said you gave her chlamydia. And she was like, what? Let me tell you what. Don't mess with her. Don't mess with her.
No, because she'll rip your eyeballs right out, which like...
I love her. I love her. She's so good.
I love her so much. But the one person who hasn't changed at all is Shep.
Nope.
I think Shep is the only character that we've seen on TV for 11 plus years who has had no growth whatsoever. He keeps getting drunk and making an ass out of himself at BravoCon.
Yep.
And doing the craziest things. And then when he and Austin were shopping for her gift, he was like being so cheap about it. And I'm like, he's the wealthiest one of all of them. Like Shep has old school railroad money.
Yeah.
And he was like complaining about spending money. And I was like, what?
Can you imagine you were going to a baby shower at Patricia Alschel's house, no less, and you are balking at a gift that's $150 when you're that rich? If you're a regular person, $150 is extravagant for a baby shower gift.
Sure.
But for Shep, that would be like $15 to me or you, and I wouldn't balk at buying a $15 baby shower gift for somebody at a regular level. But for him to be like, oh, $150, and that Austin just laughs and goes, you are so cheap. And I loved it. I love that he just called him out. He goes, come on, Shep. That's and there's cameras right here. You know?
But you know what? Shep doesn't care. He doesn't care if people don't like him. He doesn't care that people think he's a man-child. He is just going to be consistently Shep. But one thing that I did appreciate is that when they brought the bear to the baby shower, Madison goes, oh, this feels expensive. And Austin goes, it was. And I just love Austin and Madison have such a sweet relationship. And I feel like it's just proof that sometimes we're meant to have people in our lives, but not the way we're trying to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, romantically, that was a disaster for them. But it's like they're bros now. And I really kind of love that.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it a lot. And I loved the whole baby shower at Patricia's house because I'm always looking to see how hot it is because I know living in the South, how hot it can be. And they didn't appear to be hot, and that made me happy. Because I was like, God, if you get invited to something in the South and it's going to be outside, it's a 80% chance your hair's going to frizz and you're going to be disgusting. And you're going to be like, pretend to go in to use the bathroom and stay in there a really long time to cool off. But it didn't look hot, and that made me happy. I loved that we got to see her mom and her sister. I don't think we've seen her mom. I don't think we've ever seen her sister.
I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I love seeing the families.
I love the cute husband. I love the son that's like 12. He's like, oh. You know?
I know, so mad, but I'm like, he's the sweetest. I love Madison's relationship with her son. And I think that Madison also is just like, she seems to be like the mama bear of Southern Charm now, period. You know, when she's talking with Craig about, you know, it's like, what I love about Madison is she'll listen, but then also be like, well, Craig is so upset. He doesn't know what he's saying. But she'll just be like such a sweet, empathetic listener.
Yeah.
And then kind of call it out afterwards. But I just see her being the sweet mama bear, the voice of reason. And when Rodrigo gave her that teddy gift, you know, Madison doesn't cry a lot. It did bring a little tear to my eye, too.
I know. It was sweet. And then we had flashback of times past when everybody made fun of Craig and his sewing. And he had just like gone away to a seminar to learn how to make a quilt. And this was the first one. But you saw he hadn't put the back on it yet. He just made the front. It's just like,
Craig, you haven't changed, bro. You haven't changed, buddy.
Yeah. She's like, I am never going to use this ugly quilt, but this is so sweet, Craig.
I know. Oh, bless your heart. That's what they say in the South, right? When they want to say fuck you.
The decor. You're so sweet. You know, my room is not going to feature this because it's going to be in home and garden, but that's fine. I'll put it in the closet.
Right.
Yeah.
She was so gracious about it. And, you know, the one thing that I will say about Craig is that, because I know you have a history of loving people with a history of addiction. I'm like, am I crazy here? Or like Craig last year was saying how he's an addict and now he's drinking like a fish. We call this a relapse, folks. Why is everyone just okay with this?
Well, I like how Austin calls it out at that opening dinner. And then he later tells Shep about it. And Shep's like, he was taking shots. And Austin goes, he was taking multiple shots. So it's like, is Craig going to address it? Or is he going to, in typical Craig fashion, like blame everybody else? I mean, he's the one that brought this forward. It was like, the reason I can't party like I used to and the reason I can't go out is because I can't stop. And he said the word addict. He said it. Nobody else labeled him that. Austin was stunned. Austin said, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were struggling like that. Now I will look at it differently. And then this season, he's like, well, forget what I said a year ago. Let's party. Woo! Same with Shep. yep, I'm not drinking very much anymore. I'm so embarrassed about what happened at BravoCon 2023. But get ready for 2025 because I'm going to fuck it up again. Yes.
Right. But with Shep, at least I could see because he'll never, well, maybe he will in the future, but I've never seen him take ownership. He's never used the word addict or alcoholic. He'll never admit that, right? And I get a feeling with Shep, it's just begrudgingly like, oh, well, people are telling me this is an issue, so I have to say it. Otherwise, fans won't like me. With Craig, it truly confused me because it's like, so you're identifying as this, and now you're just drinking a lot. So I was just really concerned about that. But I do love that Austin is bringing it out because I feel like typical Craig is so consistent. He really is in that he'll make a big deal out of something that suits him, like last year, because it was like, oh, well, this is the reason why we're not hanging out. And then Austin's like, oh, okay. And now this year they're having all these issues. And we see that preview of them having this fight at a dinner. I assume that comes later in the season. But it's like a true friend is going to say, hey, this is concerning. What's going on? So I actually think Austin's being a good friend.
Yeah, I think that dinner said like June something 2025, which would just be several months ago. So that must have been the end of the season because I will tell you, I went to the Southern Charm panel at BravoCon and Austin and Craig definitely do not like each other right now. And it was like they both seemed to have some sadness over it, but it was sort of like, I mean, Craig was sitting with Shep and Austin was sitting with Madison and they were opposite sides of each other. And, you know, somebody asked them about their friendship and Austin said, I'll speak on it. You know, it's not like what it was and we've had some problems and it's very sad and it definitely it's not going well between those two.
Yeah. And, you know, I have to say that is sad because I think they have real love, but I just think that Craig struggles to take accountability for anything. And the problem is you can't have real, true, intimate relationships unless you can have conflict, you can take ownership, you can apologize, and you can move on. That's the only way you can have like a long-term intimate relationship of any sort. And I just don't know if Craig is capable of that, especially right now. I think he's very raw over the breakup because like people were trying, you know, pinning them against each other in the media and he's trying to blame her. But it's like very rarely is one person solely responsible for a relationship rupture. Now, if someone's an addict, alcoholic, if someone, you know, is, you know, abusive or things like that, right? That's a totally different story. But I don't think it serves Craig to constantly stick his head in the sand and try to claim victim because I think it's affecting all his relationships. That's my theory.
Every person in his life is like, Craig, you know, like you're a liar. Like you, that's sort of like your thing. You lie all the time. Like that's your shtick. And he's like, what? And then they just clip after clip after clip after clip of him being a liar. I got to say, like, I don't watch Summer House. I only know about kind of Paige through this show. And I know she's big on Summer House. I enjoy her on social media. I don't know about Giggly Squad. Like, I just, you know, I'm not in that world, but I believe every word she says about Craig.
Yeah. You know why I do also is I think Paige tends to be, because I do watch Summer House and I do love Giggly Squad. I'm a huge Paige fan. I think that she has more of a finger on the pulse of what's really going on a lot of the times.
Yes.
You know, she's not perfect. We all, you know, our perspective is shaded by the lens we see the world through, which is, you know, that's just how it is. But I do tend to believe that a lot of the things that she said over Craig. And so what do you think of like the whole Craig Venita feud? What do you think of that?
It's interesting because I kind of didn't quite understand what they were mad at each other about, but then I watched the beginning of it. It was on last night and I saw the beginning again and I guess I'd kind of zoned out. And it is about Venita kind of openly saying she was kind of team Paige in the situation. Yeah. And Craig, when I watched What Happens, I was like, you know, I never talked to her again. Right. And you're like, okay, relax. You shoot a TV show with her. So I like that she stood her ground. I like that she's like, if I'm going to, Paige is my friend. And I don't like that idea. I think Rodrigo said it maybe of like, well, Craig brought you into this group, so you need to stick with Craig. I don't really like that. I think that, it can be hoes before bros. I think you can pick your friend and you don't have to pick this guy just because he's the guy that brought you into the group. And I think Vanita's got her own friendships within the group and doesn't have to be loyal to Craig. So good for her.
I agree. I think to me, what I don't like is when people in the Bravo world, they're like, to be my friend, you have to stand me. You have to be loyal, even if I'm wrong. Because in my world, if you're a friend of mine, I'm going to tell you when you're wrong.
Right.
I'm going to have different opinions and I'm not just going to be like, oh, this is my friend. So I see both sides of it. I see the side of people saying Vanita maybe didn't need to get involved, but at the same time, God forbid a woman have a freaking opinion. Sorry.
If somebody asked her and she gave her opinion, then she's involved. What's she going to do? Say no comment? I mean, come on. Of course she's going to give an opinion. Yeah. And
I think that Vanita had a really fair point where Craig is so quick. Like when you hurt his feelings, he's so quick to just write you off.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been as easy as, him coming to her and being like, I was hurt by this. Can we talk about this? And that easily could have been maybe resolved or discussed. But what I found so fascinating, and I did have to rewatch this, is that they were having a watch party for Craig on Watch What Happens Live. And they watched him say that. And I was like,
yeah, that was bad. Because I think it was the three guys, right? It was Austin, Craig, and Shep on Watch What Happens Live.
Yes.
And so the girls were all together watching the guys. And they're like, okay. Yeah. I guess they had a little camera set up in the corner because, I was like, who thinks to do that? I guess if that's your job, then you think to do that. But it wouldn't occur to me to set up a camera in the corner to watch my reaction to like the Oscars or something. Like, who cares? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, certainly not.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't want to see myself from the side with my double chin. I don't need to see
No,
that.
I don't want to see. But it's what like Meghan Markle got all that shit about because they said that she staged that whole thing of when the Dodgers won the World Series and there was a camera and she's like hugging her friend and hugging Harry. And people said like, why would she have a camera set up to record them seeing the Dodgers win the World Series? Like, that's weird.
Sure.
And I was like, that is weird.
Yeah, it is weird, but like, you're right. We live in this world where we can just capture anything. And everything. And I'm not a fan of that. I like to live in the moment and like I do this for, because I love it and it's fun and it's my job or whatever. But like I don't love to live on social media, tape things all the time. But I just think there's certain people who are super into that.
And maybe it's a younger generation. I don't know.
Maybe because I'm no spring chicken anymore. Mary Payne, I am well into my 40s, and
you're way younger. You're way younger than me, so you're a spring chicken to me.
Well, thanks, doll. So, anything else about Southern Charm that we didn't touch on?
Well, I like that Molly got real drunk at that party, and I'm concerned about her hoarding.
When I saw her house, I was like. Because literally, so there is hoarding disorder is kind of in with like obsessive compulsive disorders and things like that in the DSM. But one of the things, and I'm fascinated about it. Now, I've never treated it because typically people like that, they need at-home therapy, which I never did. They have a hard time coming in and things like that. But when I saw the lanes, I was like, that is really indicative.
When she said, I've made little paths, I was like, they call it a goat path. And it is.
That's exactly
what they have on Hoarders. Now, I don't watch Hoarders because it's too upsetting to me. I'm not like a super, super neat person. I'm just sort of average. Like it gets to a point that I'm like, somebody's got to clean this. But her whole thing is like, I had a bigger space and now I have a smaller space. And I'm like, okay, then you need to start weeding out. I was hoping Rodrigo would be like, today's the day. It's going to get the 3 piles going, donate trash. Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it. But he didn't. He was just trying to help her, but more help is needed. So they'll probably be bringing that up on the reunion.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, it makes sense too, because I think that Molly, who, by the way, I adore her because she is just who she is, her tuba, her pet snake, which, by the way, if your house is so cluttered you can't find a pet snake, that's also a problem. I'm going to tell you. That's a real problem.
Like somebody was getting rid of these reptiles, so I took them. I'm like, ew, why? Have you always wanted to own several reptiles? No,
I mean, I don't mind. Listen, one weird thing about Yabish is I don't mind a reptile. I don't mind a lizard. I actually kind of like snakes. I'm certainly not scared of them. We live in the woods. Sometimes they're outside. I pet one in my yard. I know that sounds insane and no one would ever recommend that.
I like alligators because at the beach we have a lot of alligators, but I like to go and look at them. I don't want to
Well, right. If you pet them, you're going to die. So you
that'll
can't
be
do that.
That'll be death. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. I think Molly is weird and I think she's good for the show. I like her a lot.
So good for the show. Doesn't take herself too seriously.
Right.
The one funny thing I'll say as we're wrapping this up is that Corey, I dislike so much that I didn't even acknowledge him in my interpretation. I didn't even mention his name. And one of my listeners, I'll give a shout out to Whitney. She goes, because she knows me very well. She goes, I love that you dislike him so much you didn't even acknowledge his name. And I said, that's exactly what happened.
What was up with that guy? I mean, I guess he's been on the show before, but I was like, are we trying to make Corey happen? Is he a friend of? Like, what are we doing?
That's a good question. I think he is a friend of or a cast member because and I'm like, oh, perfect. That's just what Craig needs. You know, who self-describes himself as an addict. He needs a college friend who also drinks his face off to join this group. That's a great idea.
You guys, at some point you do, and Shep hasn't hit the point, and I can't quite believe it because I think he's like 47. At some point you can't do it anymore.
Right.
You can't go out all night like that. It shows on your face. It shows on your work ethic. I mean, Shep doesn't have a job, but it just, at some point you can't do it anymore. And I think like Molly getting drunk at that party and having regret, like crying, like, I can't believe I missed this gig. I let people down. That's where all of them should be in their lives. They should all be at that point where they have regret for their actions.
And Molly had something else real to do outside of just filming. That's what I love about her too. She has like a real life, whereas a lot of people, like for Shep, this is his job. He has nothing else to do.
He would be doing exactly the same thing if he wasn't on the show. He would just go to Costa Rica and surf. Then he would come home and collect his mailbox money. Then he'd go to the Bahamas and look for a girlfriend and then come back. He would be doing the same thing if he was on the show or not.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Mm-hmm. Preach. Well, Mary Payne, this has been such an amazing time. Thank you so much. I hope you will come back. And, because Salt Lake, we didn't really talk about because, the last episode, it was so. But, I'd love to have you back to talk about that and Southern Charm and just
I'd love to discuss with you at length about Bronwyn and her marriage. But maybe you can come on my show and we can discuss.
Happy to do it because I could write a dissertation on that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
But Mary Payne, please, I know everybody knows you, but for anyone who doesn't know where to find you, please let them know where they can find you.
I never assume anybody knows me. I have a podcast called Pink Shade. I talk about TLC shows like 90 Day. We generally cover Love After Lockup on our Mugshot Mondays. It's off right now, so we're covering 60 days in, but it comes back at the end of January. And I cover whatever the 90 Day shows that are airing. I'm covering both of them right now. And on Thursdays, I talk about Bravo. And I just started a rewatch over on Pink Shade Prime with Keisha of the best show that ever to hit television, Welcome to Plathville. We just started a rewatch. So,
do you know I've never watched that? And everyone always asks me to cover it. I get that and I get Sister Wives.
Yes.
And you know what I've said? It's too much. I can't catch up. It's just not possible, I don't think.
Well, there's 7 seasons of Welcome to Plathville, and it's an easy, light breezy watch at the beginning. And then you, as a trained therapist, will be able to see in season 1, episode 1, what we all didn't see right away. Right away, we're like, something's off with this mom. Right away, in the first few episodes. But, by the time you get to the end of the season 1, you're like, whoa. And we're now 7 seasons in. And so because I talk about it so much and how much I love it, and Keisha's never watched one episode. So she was like, I'll do a rewatch with you. So now we're going back. But what she wants to do is every episode, she wants me to spoil it for her to say, oh, you should see what's happening now. These two are divorced or these two aren't friends. And I'm not telling her anything. I'm like, you have to go on the journey.
I appreciate that because I think that also informs our perspective when we know something. Yeah, the journey is the most important thing. So I don't know, maybe you've convinced me to watch it.
It's so good. I've told every TLC person that will listen, I'm like, this is the best show you've ever put on television. And I cover I cover Seeking Sister Wife. That's another good one.
You do. And that's what I love about you and your show is you do cover a lot of those TLC shows, which that's a lane that I dabble in, but I don't, you know what I mean? I don't totally cover it. So I do love that we chat about that a little bit. So.
And the Bravo crossover, because I had so many people come up at BravoCon and they knew me from my 90-day coverage, but they also watched Bravo. And I even had somebody come up and said they started listening to me because of my Love After Lockup coverage. I was like, so you like to get like down in the gutter with Love After Lockup and then lift yourself back up to Bravo. I was like, you're my people. You're my people. You got to go down to come back up. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I love that. Well, thank you so much. And for everyone listening, of course, you can find me at Your Bish Therapist on Instagram. I have a Patreon now. We have such a fun, kiki, such a community over there. I love that. Check me out on Patreon /Your Bish Therapist. And this has been so much fun. But for today, we're going to have to say farewell, sending love to you and yours, and ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish Therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.